Since ancient times, humans have sought to create spaces filled with meaning and spiritual energy. Sacred places, temples, monasteries, shrines, and sacred natural landscapes were centers not only of religious practice, but also of social life, symbols of humanity's connection with the cosmos, nature, and their own inner world. Over time, these spaces evolved, reflecting cultural and social transformations. In the modern world, where life moves at an ever-increasing pace, technology penetrates all aspects of existence, and the boundaries between culture and religion are increasingly blurred. Sacred places undergo a process of reinterpretation. They become not only sites of worship, but also spaces for spiritual exploration, art, tourism, and even social platforms for human interaction with the world. Chapter 1. The history of sacred spaces. The history of sacred spaces is closely intertwined with human civilization. Egyptian pyramids, Mesopotamian stone temples, and ancient Greek sanctuaries were all built with an understanding of sacred geometry, the energy of the place, and rituals that enhanced human connection to the divine. During the Middle Ages, Christian monasteries and cathedrals became centers of education and art. Eastern temples in India, Japan, and China embodied philosophies of harmony between humans and the universe. These places shaped not only religious practices but also cultural identity across generations. Over time, sacred spaces became symbols of history, memory, and collective spiritual heritage. Their architecture, rituals, and mythology created a unique spiritual context, passed down through generations. Chapter 2. Modern reinterpretation of sacred places today. The world has changed dramatically. Urbanization, globalization, scientific progress, and digitalization have created a new reality where sacred spaces are no longer exclusively religious centers. 1. Technologization and virtual shrines. With the advent of virtual reality and digital technologies, many sacred places are gaining new forms. Online pilgrimages, virtual tours, and interactive museums allow people to visit sacred spaces without leaving their homes. This creates a new level of access and reinterprets the experience of holiness, previously available to a limited number of people too. Art and culture. Modern artists, architects, and performers often incorporate sacred motifs into their projects, creating art spaces that reinterpret spirituality. For example, light installations in historic churches or minimalist meditative pavilions in urban parks evoke feelings of sacredness without being tied to a specific religion. 3. Tourism and spiritual industry. Sacred places are increasingly popular tourist destinations. This both helps preserve cultural heritage and raises questions about the commercialization of spirituality. Reinterpretation here involves creating hybrid spaces where cultural, educational, and spiritual aspects coexist. 4. Social function. Many contemporary sacred spaces serve social purposes. Monasteries, temples, and shrines actively participate in charitable activities, ecological projects, and educational initiatives. This reimagining of spirituality as an active societal force allows sacred places to remain relevant and meaningful. Chapter 3. Psychology and spiritual experience. Modern humans seek in sacred places not only religious experiences, but also psycho-emotional support, meditation, and self-exploration. Studies show that spending time in sacred spaces reduces stress, improves emotional well-being, and enhances mindfulness. Contemporary interpretations consider this need. Meditative gardens, art galleries with spiritual themes, and urban quiet zones are examples of how sacred spaces adapt to modern human demands. Sacredness ceases to be strictly religious category. It becomes a universal experience of connecting with something greater than oneself. Chapter 4. Architecture and space. The architecture of sacred spaces today is a synthesis of tradition and modernity. Modern Temples and meditation centers use minimalism and natural materials to create spaces conducive to inner focus. Renovation of historic sanctuaries often combines preservation of the historical aura with the integration of modern technologies, lighting, sound, interactive exhibitions, natural sacred sites, forests, mountains, sacred springs. Gain modern infrastructure while maintaining sacredness through ecological and meditative programs. Thus, space is no longer merely a physical object. It becomes a dynamic environment for spiritual experience, visual art, and cultural activity. Chapter 5. Cross-cultural. Transformations globalization fosters unique processes of cultural exchange. Sacred practices and spaces migrate, adapt, and integrate into new contexts. Examples include the spread of Buddhist meditation centers in Europe and America, or the use of African rituals in Western art practices. This synthesis allows sacred spaces to remain alive, relevant, and open to new interpretations. Chapter 6. Ethical and philosophical considerations. The reinterpretation of sacred places raises important questions for humanity. How can the spiritual value of a place be preserved without turning it into a tourist attraction? How can new forms of sacredness be integrated without disrupting traditional practices? Is it possible to create universal sanctuaries accessible to all cultures and worldviews? Answers to these questions shape the philosophy of contemporary sacred spaces, where spirituality becomes both an experience and a cultural value. Conclusion: sacred spaces, after a history spanning millennia, are now experiencing a unique phase of reinterpretation. They are becoming hybrid zones, places of spiritual exploration, cultural exchange, social engagement, and artistic practice. Modern humans visit sacred places not only for religious experience, but also for emotional harmony, cultural enrichment, and aesthetic inspiration. Reinterpreting the spirit of sacred spaces does not destroy traditions. It evolves them, blending past, present, and future to create new forms of spiritual life in the modern world. The sacred is no longer exclusively religious. It becomes a universal space where anyone can meet themselves, feel a connection to history, and engage with the world around them.